Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Τα προγράμματά μας προσφέρονται σε πολλές γλώσσες. Παρακαλούμε δείτε suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Wondrous Underwater Structures Part 1 of 2, Museums and Sculptures for Ocean Protection. Continue watching to find out more.
Vegan, you don't have to climb mountains to prove that you're strong.
When visiting Malta, you might hear a native say, "Unde pachi," meaning pleased to meet you in Maltese. I'm Edward. Since time immemorial, the saints and sages have known how to tap into the divine power within and thus transcend this ephemeral world. The beautiful people of Malta celebrate your sincerity in following the Master's teachings to attain spiritual freedom and awakening. May your soul rejoice. Welcome to our show, Wondrous Underwater Structures, Part 1 of 2. Museums and Sculptures for Ocean Protection. Sometimes it's easy to forget that the oceans are the source of all life on Earth. Oceans cover over 70% of the Earth's surface and supply at least 50% of the oxygen we breathe. More than 200,000 known species live in the oceans, with many more undiscovered. Due to a lack of responsibility, we humans take advantage of the ocean's bounty, threatening all life that they sustain, endangering our precious planet. Many of the world's artists care deeply about the Earth and express their concern by bringing marine environments into their work. In 1970, the U.S. artist Robert Smithson produced his Spiral Jetty in Utah's Great Salt Lake. His work was inspired by seeing the reddish reflection of beings such as algae, shrimp people, and microorganisms moving in the water. With today's growing awareness of climate change and other environmental issues, a new form of art is being created that aims to raise eco-consciousness and sometimes highlighting specific concerns. One practitioner of this new art form who focuses on the ocean is British sculptor, scuba diver, marine conservationist, and underwater photographer Jason Taylor. Jason's work conveys many important messages, while at the same time creating opportunities to support the growth of marine ecosystems. After more than 15 years of work, Jason's large-scale underwater museums and sculpture parks now span the globe, with each site a submerged and tidal marine environment. Two years after the 2004 Hurricane Ivan caused extensive damage to Molinaire Bay on the west coast of Grenada in the West Indies, Jason Taylor constructed artificial sculptures in the local reef, using long-lasting pH-neutral cement to provide a new base for marine life. The Molinier Underwater Sculpture Park is now listed by National Geographic as one of the top 25 wonders of the world and is designated as a National Marine Protected Area. In describing the message conveyed in this piece, Jason says,
"Most people just see the surface of the ocean, and it is hard to think of something so plain and enormous as fragile. We don't regard our oceans as sacred, and we should."
The next project we'll look at by Jason is on display at the Museo Subaquatico de Arte, or MUSA, or Underwater Museum of Art in Cancun, Mexico, one of the largest and most ambitious underwater art attractions in the world. The museum consists of over 500 life-size sculptures submerged in the Caribbean waters off the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico's eastern state of Quintana Roo. Some of the creations that can be seen in MUSA are The Gardener, a girl taking care of potted corals, and The Dream Collector, a man reading messages from inside bottles found on the bottom of the sea. In 2011, Jason sculpted The Musician, a full-scale mermaid seated at a Steinway concert grand piano exhibited in Museo, the Bahamas. 3 years later, he created Ocean Atlas, the world's largest single underwater sculpture. The 5-meter-high statue of a young girl weighing over 60 tons depicts her carrying the weight of the ocean in reference to the ancient Greek myth of Atlas. The sculpture's message to the world is empower the youth so they can help rectify the endless mistakes we have made. As part of the 2015 Totally Thames Festival, Jason DeCaires-Taylor installed 4 sculptures of horsemen titled The Rising Tide along the Thames River opposite the Houses of Parliament in the United Kingdom. Following the daily rise and fall of the river, the sculptures are visible from the shore at low tide and become almost completely submerged at high tide. The horsemen have various special meanings. The rider in a suit represents ambivalence toward the environmental crisis, while the young riders represent hope for change in the future. Regarding the work, Jason says the following.
The Rising Tide was located within sight of the Houses of Parliament. I think we really have to start holding people accountable for what they are doing.
Vegan tested positive for willingness to help.
Reflective viewers, we'll now pause for a moment to hear a brief message and return shortly. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to our show featuring underwater sculptures and museums. Another one of Jason DeCaires-Taylor's major projects is the Museo Atlantico, or Atlantic Museum, the first underwater art museum in European waters. The museum, which opened to the public in 2016 after more than 3 years of planning and construction, consists of over 300 submerged sculptures and architectural forms within the Lanzarote's UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve. The artworks are arranged in 6 groups, each focusing on a different theme, including climate change, the refugee crisis, and the merging of nature and humanity. The Corallarium is a semi-submerged gallery that features a series of sculptures on the intertidal region and seabed of Suravenfushi Island in the Maldives at depths of between 3 and 5 meters. Installed in 2018, the gallery is situated in the clear, shallow waters of the largest lagoon in the Savayani Atoll on the island of Suravenfushi. The artwork questions the stubborn ignorance of adults regarding the impact of humans on the natural world and warns low-lying nations such as the Maldives of the environmental crisis lurking beneath the water's surface that threatens the very future of life on Earth. In 2019, Jason worked with Australia's Museum of Underwater Art, or MOUA, to set up Coral Greenhouse, the first underwater museum in the Southern Hemisphere. This work also shares the message of conserving and restoring coral reefs, for which Australia is famous. While working in Australia that same year, Jason asked Dakota Johnson, a young girl from the Walguru Kaba tribe, to be a model for Ocean Siren, a 4-meter-high illuminated sculpture in Townsville. The sculpture holds a Bayless shell, a traditional indigenous communication device that functions as a siren or warning signal about the threat to the Great Barrier Reef posed by warming seas. The sculpture changes colors according to the ocean's temperature. In 2021, Jason Taylor completed the Underwater Museum of Cannes, France, in the Mediterranean Sea, and the Museum of Underwater Sculpture Ayia Napa, or Musan, at Panera Beach, Cyprus, taking him 4 years. The Musan Museum aims to raise public awareness about the declining state of the world's oceans, including the Mediterranean Sea, which are highly polluted and suffer from overfishing and plastic waste. The underwater forest of Musan consists of more than 93 works of art in the form of trees and other figurines to attract marine life and enrich the area's biodiversity over time. The figurative sculptures in the museum model the mystical and otherworldly themes of Cyprus's cultural heritage, and the arrangement of the sculptures follows the topography of the Panera Beach seabed. We thank Jason Taylor and other artists for their ingenious creation of underwater art pieces that remind us of the beauty of the oceans and the importance of protecting and nurturing them.
If we talk about compassion for all life, it should be compassion for all life in every action. So when it is unnecessary to eat animal food, we should stop that. When it is unnecessary to wear animal skins, we should stop that. When it is unnecessary to experiment on animals, we should stop that. So we know that our religions are talking about compassion at our very core, which means that we can practice it. Dr. Sailesh Krishna Rao, PhD vegan.
Kind viewers, thank you for your company today during Wondrous Underwater Structures, Part 1 of 2, Museums and Sculptures for Ocean Protection. Please return next Thursday for Part 2. May we find true protection and well-being by creating a vegan world through God's guidance.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/AJAR.